All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to the April, not Fools, but April edition of the San Diego ARES meeting. Currently still being conducted via Zoom for our convenience and to get it out to the most of the members, as well as being able to record this. I know it's probably going to be a little lighter on the attendance today because of the holiday weekend and the Easter weekend. But we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do, as always, start with the pledge. If you are able to do so, please stand. And if you happen to be indoors and you are wearing cover indoors, please remove your cover. And ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, folks. Normal routine for us is to go out and ask for anybody that might be new, hasn't been to an ARES meeting before, maybe hasn't been to an ARES meeting in a very, very long time, or just happened to have joined recently. I'd like to go out and do some introductions. If you wouldn't mind, raise your hand. Rob will usually try to pull you out, look for you. If you don't know how to do the raise your hand in the Zoom meeting, you can unmute yourself, try to wait for the appropriate time and say hello, and we will try to figure out which one of the squares lit up on our screen, and we'll go out and get you in there. So let's start with new intros. Anybody net new to the party?
We have David, KN6WNN.
Go ahead, David. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what your interests are with both amateur radio and ARES.
I'm relatively new to both amateur radio and ARES. I got my technician license in November and my general in February. I'm working on studying for the extra. I think this is my second ARES meeting. So I'm interested in a lot of different aspects of amateur radio, of supporting, emergency operations and RVing and motorcycles, and just still learning. Got a lot to learn. So
we all still do. No matter how many years in you are, there are always things that are developing, growing, and basically new things that we've never experienced before, or we're using different ways. So welcome aboard. Thanks for being here. Anyone else? Not seeing any additional from Rob or Dave either. All right.
No new names here, no.
Very good. Let's move ahead and get the section announcements from Dave.
All right, just a couple quick things this morning. Really nothing new from the section other than for those that follow the ARRL, Rita Jaram, N2RJ has resigned as Hudson Division Director, and she will be replaced by her Vice Director. So something different going on there. On Sunday morning, the HF net that used to be on 3905, I think, is moving to 7204. So just to keep people up to date, because 75 meters is a little tough. And for those history buffs, 163 years ago, the Pony Express started. And you could get a letter across the country in only 10 days. So, and that was faster than the standard 1 to 2 months. So we've come a long way since then. That's it, Bruce.
Very good. Thanks, Dave. Let's move ahead and get the local and special event related and other ham radio activity announcements from Rob, please.
All right, sharing screen now. All righty, can you see that?
You're good.
All right. me see how advance. Okay, so obviously today, ARES meeting, we've got a special presentation given by Eric. It'll be starting in a few minutes. The next two ARES meetings will be bracketing the hospital drill. So the intent is that before and after the drill, we talk about the drill, prep before, and then recap afterwards. And July, Bruce has volunteered to explain to us everything about the logbook of the world, which has become known to more people because of the volunteers on the air activity that the ARRL is running this year. So Bruce, you still up for the July logbook of the world presentation?
You know, I'm going to tell you that's what I get for making a joke about probably being proficient myself at LOTW by July. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think that misses, and this is the only conflict, I think that misses the CQ Worldwide VHF by a week. As long as the contest is a week later, that date should be good.
Okay, very good. And if anybody has any suggestions, or thank you, Bruce, topics for the rest of the year, let me know. If there's something you would like to learn about, let me know. We will find somebody to do a presentation. Other ARES activities coming up at the end of this month, end of April, we've got an activity day at Kearney Mesa Rec Center. It will be the same play as last times. We'll be in that big grassy area out behind the rec center. Lots of room there for setting up HF antennas. And we should be far enough from any other activity that we won't be hitting the head with soccer balls, and we can set up canopies, and people can show off their vehicles also if they have things like that. So there's some preliminary activity lists going out just to make sure that we have a little bit of variety in the mix. If you are willing to show off something, or if you want to learn about something, let me know, and we will put it into the program. Hospital exercise coming up in May. More about that in a minute. VHF contest, we always promote the VHF contest because it's great simplex training with the repeaters that have been knocked out with the winter storms this year. It humbles us that because we don't have those crutches of repeaters to use all the time. So simplex training, it brings us back to simplex and back to basics. Field day at the end of June, and the WinLink drill is ongoing. It'll be used during the WinLink will be used during the hospital exercise. And any questions, if you want to get started, contact Manir at gmail.com, and we'll get you trained up on that. Other training opportunities coming up, I put in plugs for the one-day technician cram classes, which are coming up in May and in June. And we've got other activities. They're not ARES events. They're just hams, like-minded hams getting together to support civic events. We've got an endurance run in May, PCT 50. And another one in June, first weekend in June, actually the Friday before the weekend, is a San Diego 100. And there's also a Black Mountain exercise in the Penasquitos area of San Diego in June. If you have any interest in those, if you're available, let me know. If you have absolutely no training, don't worry about it. We have experienced people you'll be working with, and you can learn from them. Other air opportunities, some clubs have started discussions about maybe doing get on the air classes for new hams, and so that's really appreciated. If your club is considering it, please encourage them to go ahead with it and volunteer to help out your club with people getting on the air. We've not yet been able to resume the ARES Communicator Gateway workshops like we used to do on the same time as the ARES meetings. So we hope to get back to that someday. And there have been some small HF get in the air groups happening. And so if anybody wants to get on the air HF or a little more experience, contact me, and we'll try to match you up with an Elmer to get you on the air. Hospital drill. So a typical hospital drill, which is coming up next month. We usually cover 14 hospitals. We cover as many locations as we can find pairs of volunteers to assign to hospitals. So we usually cover about 14 hospitals plus the medical operations center. And we send maybe 4, 5, 6 hams there to coordinate all the message traffic going through the system. And we also send up some offsite home-based communications hubs to help relay traffic between VHF, HF, and also to translate information from voice only into the WinLink data system, just to try to keep information flowing. So we usually have about 50 people that can take time off for a weekday exercise. It'll be on a Thursday next month. And the ARES assignments and the hospitals list are always fluid. ARES assignments are fluid because people get ill, drop out, their work schedule changes. And so the ARES assignments list is continuous change right up until the exercise begins. And the hospitals sometimes change their minds at the last minute. They'll upgrade or downgrade the exercise from not participating to maybe to a tabletop, or maybe to a full-scale exercise, or back down in the other direction. So the hospital participation is fluid. So that results also in the ARES members, the volunteers, being moved from location to location to support what the hospitals asked for. Overlaid on top of the VHF, UHF repeater and simplex communications going on, we conduct an HF regional net just to prove that we can do it. We use home-based ARES members for that. We do not ask the ARES members who are supporting the hospitals to do any HF at all, because we want them to focus on the hospital and needs of the hospitals, communicating to the staff members at the hospital what they're doing. So they're VHF, HF only, VHF, UHF only, and the HF people are for people not at the hospitals, but at home. During a typical hospital drill, we send at least 200 WinLink messages plus acknowledgements. And last hospital exercise, we started a position reporting using some new features of WinLink. So there's many messages flying around, dozens of voice messages also. We typically use simplex and 15 to 20 repeaters. I've sent out all the repeater requests for the May exercise already. Waiting. Some people have, some repeater owners have replied already, granted permission, and so that's the planning for the repeater and the comm plan is going ahead. It'll be a separate comm plan, different from the usual ARES one, because for an exercise we have to request permission from the repeater owners, and so we'll be formalizing that in the next week or two. And of course, the exercise starts at 8 o'clock. This time we're going to try early check-ins starting at 7. We're going to have an early shift for net control, not involving John Kasich, CPO, because I know John is not a morning person. Therefore, we'll have somebody else cover the first hour from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock for early check-ins for people that have to run off to a hospital briefing, or for whatever reason, we can, they can do the early check-ins, and then we'll start the official roll call at 8 o'clock. Most scenarios at the hospital start at about 8:30. Everything varies from hospital to hospital because each hospital has their own exercise plan. A reminder that if you've not yet done so, please renew your annual membership with ARES by logging into the website, sdgares.net. That puts a date timestamp on your profile. We know that you are still in the area and still willing to participate in ARES activities. And that's separate from the Groups IO website that we use. So sdgares.net. And we have, at last count, when I checked, it was 132 people have verified their ARES membership for this calendar year. And Bruce, that's all I have. Back to you, K6 RJF.
That was well done. And I'm glad we recorded that so people can roll back and listen to it and replay it later. Any questions for Rob? I know that was a lot to pack into that small amount of time.
I've got an additional announcement.
Looks like K6AMQ has a question, and then Jay, I'll get you.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, the new Kaiser Hospital is opening up in San Marcos, I believe, in July. Do we have anybody that's connected with the Kaiser hospitals for these drills?
I will ask about that. There's a Kaiser Club, Cape Kaiser Permanente Amateur Radio Network that covers the Kaiser locations. They cover Zion and the new medical center in Kearney Mesa. I will ask if they're going to send somebody to San Marcos.
Okay, thanks. Just wondering if we needed to get involved from our people.
Thanks for the tip, Mike.
All right, I've got additional material to unpack and bolt on to what Rob just did with the hospital drill, but Jay, go ahead.
Just a sort of another opportunity to try something new. Bill K1CT did an excellent talk on meteors, meteor scatter, meteor modes a few months ago. And it occurred to me that there's typically an April meteor shower. The peak is April 21. So if you're interested in trying that mode, look up Lyrid meteors and, kind of figure out what times might work for you. That's all.
Very good. Thanks, Jay. Okay. One last pass. Any additional questions for Rob before we continue on? I do have some additional material related to the upcoming drill.
K1CT about the Sunday net.
Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, good morning. In the observance of Easter, I'm not planning to have the San Diego section ARES net tomorrow morning at 0900 or the digital net. And in addition to that, looking for substitute net controls for those nets for the subsequent 3 Sundays, as I'll be unavailable. So I'll be putting out an email requesting help on that regard. That's all I have.
Very good. We'll be looking for the email. Sure, we'll set it up, figure it out. All right. Anything else? Okay. Let's loop back to the hospital drill. I know that a lot of the folks that are on the meeting this morning have probably participated in at least one. They at least know what they are, what we do, how we execute. The nature of this drill is going to be a little different and interesting than previous ones that we may have been involved with. Different aspects include, this is the first real statewide drill that we've had in the state of California for the hospitals since we started this little thing that we like to call COVID. So having said that, organizationally, a lot of the folks, even year to year in the drills from a hospital or a site, often do rotate, change, people get into other jobs, roles, other positions, etc. And it seems like we have an extraordinary number of new people that are going to be working at the hospital in their incident command centers that have never been involved in a drill before, ever. So it's not just an ARES thing where it may not be a understanding of what we're providing and what we're offering and what the partnership involves. In a lot of cases, they're not sure what it is they're going to be doing at their local site or how to execute, which is exactly why you have a drill. You have new people float in and out. You actually rotate through people. You hopefully have enough seasoned people to go out and teach the new ones as you're bringing them in. But in this case, it feels a lot like we are starting from maybe net zero and net new at the hospital. So a couple of things are happening. The planning for the drill is different this year. We were, as an example, supposed to have had a meeting yesterday. As you might imagine, for those of you that do participate, Good Friday and coming up into the Easter weekend, for those that are on the Hanukkah involvement, there's obviously a full week. There's a full week of activities for people. So not a big surprise that one of the larger meetings for the planning purposes that happened was supposed to have happened yesterday, did not. And the other part of it is that the local hospitals are scripting, in some cases, their own actual events and drills. So rather than it be a universal or master planned event that the hospitals go out and do their pieces of as they choose to, the hospitals this time seem to be scripting their own event for a lot of the time window that it's going to actually occur in. So we're not going to necessarily see a universal map where we expect things to all go off and happen at the same time, or a timed schedule where certain triggers or events or incidents will occur. And that includes where we would be involved on the emergency or disaster communication aspect as well. So lots of different, very different dynamics on this drill. What I'm going to suggest, and Rob, sorry, we haven't had a chance to talk about this, but this isn't shock and awe. It's just planning for contingency. I think we really do need to focus more once we go out and get the hospital mapping plan turned over to us for participation on making sure we have really solid WinLink capable support for the sites. And I think in this particular event, although it may be requested, we'll have to go out and delegate how we want to put folks on site, perhaps with radio gear that is not WinLink capable. I think we should really showcase the WinLink capabilities that we've been developing for years and years and years and years and years, and that we're in most cases awfully good at. If that means that we are not able to support a smaller site, maybe that's what it means. But we'll talk about those logistics in the next couple of weeks. The other aspect of this is, again, that although it's supposed to be a state-driven drill, I'm hearing from a lot of other county, or not county, but outside of San Diego County organizations and other areas organizations that they're facing exactly the same challenges. There isn't going to be a master script. There isn't going to be a master scenario. We are likely to run into potentially other organizations on the air, if you're on HF in particular, that are doing drills differently than what we are. So most important words as we are conducting business and we're doing voice traffic, this is a drill, will be super important. We've had some turnover on the Kaiser side, so I'm glad that that was brought up as well. Kaiser normally does not participate with ARES, but ARES has in some cases had membership in KPARN, which is their disaster radio network and their organization. Not really sure how that's playing out this time, but in effect, we don't necessarily go out and have not ever really gone out to support KPARN or Kaiser. They've always participated or opted in to be part of, in an ancillary way, the event for the state, because they don't normally have a requirement to participate with the state either, believe it or not, different organization. And, you know, where we can integrate, we will. Where we can overlap, we will. Where we can work together, we often have in the past, and we hope to continue to do so in the future. So again, drill dynamics on this one, going to be very different. I think we're going to really try to focus on maybe well-planned and well-staffed WinLink related events. So the 1 or 2 people at a site may not be what we do. Maybe we do 3 or 4 or 5 people at a site. There is that possibility for this one. And again, as this shakes out and develops a little bit more and we see more of the individual hospital system plans, we'll go out and loop the group in. And Rob or myself or both of us will obviously be pushing the information out to the group. Questions on that before I change gears and move on? Okay, not seeing anything. The amateur radio stuff, especially on HF lately, like Jay had mentioned for operating notes, a lot of different things are happening out there. We've got all kinds of normal opportunities. We've got the VHF, UHF stuff happening. Typically starting in June, we've got the spring VHF sprints that are happening, I believe starting this month. And starting in the month of May, the 6-meter ES stuff starts happening typically for North America. So we start getting our little window of opportunity down here in California and in Southern California to be able to talk across the country, sometimes, especially over the last couple of years, into Europe, which has been quite a surprise. With all the solar activity, it's kind of a interesting mix now. I'm looking at 10 meters as we're talking, and I will say that the conditions are very soft today. Not very good. A lot of solar activity sometimes means good propagation, sometimes means that your propagation is not going to be so good. And there's a gazillion reasons why in the science that you can do a quick search on online and look at some of our previous meeting Teams videos, and I'll explain why and how solar activity works both to your benefit and in many cases sometimes to your disadvantage. The reference to the Sunday morning drills being moved from 75 meters to 40 meters was a good one. We want to remind people that that has taken place already. And I got to be honest, with the solar changes in activity, the NIVIS conditions that we normally try to take advantage of that are starting to dissipate and filter away toward about the window of time that our net happens at about 9 o'clock seems to be more better and more favored on 40 meters. Imagine that. So last week, very surprised, very happy that everybody was as good as they were on HF on the new frequency. So be looking for that this coming week as well, with tomorrow obviously being Easter Sunday. Our mileage may vary for participation, no harm, no foul. Your personal obligations, like everything else, come first. In ARES, as most of you already know, my mantra has always been, we're here to teach you how to go out and use the radio. We're here to help you get involved with radio. We're here to go out and mentor as needed, answer questions, help out, be all of the good things from a fellowship and citizenship perspective that amateur radio is supposed to do. But first and foremost, we want you to be able to take care of yourself first, and then your family, and then your neighbors, and then your surrounding community. And gee, then if you got time, we're happy to have you help out with ARES, but always think of it that way when we're talking about disaster and emergency radio. I don't have anything else. I stretched our conversations long enough to make sure that Eric's dad was able to get on board before Eric did his presentation, and I let Craig in, so he's here. And with that, unless there are any additional questions, we'll turn it over to Eric for his Starlink presentation. Not seeing any. Eric, the meeting is yours, my friend.